Let's begin the news from the capital territory of Abuja, where the federal government said it will activate surveillance measures for inbound passengers from China following the current surge of a respiratory virus. Now, reports indicate that the virus has led to overcrowded hospitals, emergency measures, and public concerns in China. The virus, known as the human metapneumovirus, has caused a spike in cases this winter in northern Chinese provinces, especially in youngsters. According to reports, neighboring nations including Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Cambodia are keeping a careful eye on the HMPV situation. They have recorded a few cases, but no significant outbreaks yet. To shed more light on this, we're now joined by two health experts, Professor Philip Njemanze and, of course, Dr. Emmanuel Ibitoye, who will help us understand better the situation. Professor Njemanze joins us from Owerri, the Imo State capital, while Dr. Emmanuel joins us from Lagos. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the news. Now, Professor Njemanze, let me start with you. Can you educate us on this new human metapneumovirus? Professor Njemanze, can you hear me?
Virus that we have known. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. It's a virus. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Could you help us put on your video as well? I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I think I think I should be.
All right, Professor Njemanze, please just go ahead. You were answering the question. We can fix that later.
Yeah, okay. Yes, the human metapneumovirus is a virus we have known for a very long time. Since 2001, we have known this virus. There has been some data that probably it goes way back to 1958. This virus causes common cold symptoms, showing cough, fever, nasal congestion, shortness of breath, and sore throat. These are the most common symptoms. It's a very seasonal virus, so very sensitive to temperature. So you have this coming up repeatedly in across wet months of the year during winter. So it's not something that we do not know about. It's not even close to the COVID in terms of its novelty. We know about this virus. We know it causes a very light infection. It's not something out of common range of common cold virus. The precautions we have to take as ordinary people is just the same thing we do in this type of season where you have common cold. So you have to wash your hands and make sure you wash it with soap for at least 20 seconds. You have to avoid close contact with people who are sick. You have to cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. You have to avoid touching your eyes and nose with contaminated or unwashed hands. And you have to avoid sharing personal things like cups and utensils with people who might be sick. I think outside these normal hygiene-based precautions, there's not much more we can do as ordinary people. I think one has to take this precaution, even if there was no pandemic or so, or any threat of.
All right, Dr. Njemanze, we would have to come back to this conversation so we can fix some technical glitches in the back end. But when we come back, we'll continue the conversation as well, with Dr. Emmanuel as well. Now, in the meantime, let's also tell you that 2 persons were feared dead at Agbor, headquarters of Ika South Local Government Area of Delta State, following the bursting into flames of a tanker laden with petrol. According to reports, the incident occurred on Sunday afternoon when the petrol tanker fell while the driver was trying to make a turn on the ever-busy Old Lagos Asaba Road that runs through Agbor main town. From the videos obtained from eyewitnesses, some residents and passersby were helpless in trying to put out the flames before the arrival of firefighters to the scene. News Central's Austin Azu reports that several houses and vehicles around the scene were severely burnt, just as the body of a car owner who was caught up by the flames could be seen on the road. Meanwhile, Governor of Delta State Sheriff Oborevwori has extended his condolences to the families of victims of Sunday's fire incident. The governor, in a statement by his chief press secretary, Festus Agbor, described the fire incident as horrifying and prayed for the speedy recovery of those injured and fortitude for those bereaved in the unfortunate incident. Now we're going to take Austin Azu's report to see what the fire incident was. All right, Austin joins us live now. Austin, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon. I can hear you.
All right, Austin, can you take us through the cause of the incident and what the situation is currently as you're standing there?
Yeah, currently the cause of the accident has been, made known to journalists long ago, that the tanker fell break and the tanker ran into this place, and there was one car that obstructed the tanker that while coming, so it ran into the vehicle and the tanker somersaulted severally before landing here. It was earlier restored by Desman. However, the deputy governor of the state was here not quite long, about a couple of 30 minutes ago, to inspect the extent of damage done by the inferno. And thereafter, he sympathizes with the victims, and he spoke to them. He assured them of what government intends to do to ensure that they are able to, restore back their, their economic lives. However, thereafter, he went to one of the victims' family, and he spoke with them, and he told them that the state government will definitely meet them halfway. But however, what is on ground right now is that the local government chairman is here, and of course other state government officials are here to ensure they are able to clear this particular road, to make sure that this gridlock we are experiencing from the other side, have a free flow of movement. However, we have the Commissioner for Environment, Ejiro Jamani, who is still on the ground here. Let him tell us the impact assessment of the environment on what this inferno has caused to this environment. Okay, let's meet you, sir.
Okay, my name is Jamani Ejiro, the Commissioner for Environment, Delta State. First of all, I want to say it's a very sad day for us here in Delta when we got the devastating news of this fire incident. The governor has tweeted. Also this morning, the deputy governor, Sir Mondo Yeme, led the state to this place, and we also paid a condolence visit to one of the bereaved family. So it's very sad that motorists, they don't put their vehicle in order before plying the road. And you can see from what we heard, it is a mechanical failure. It's a brake failure that caused this this disaster. So the chairman of council is here. The Ministry of Environment, we are collaborating to see how we can clear this place with the chairman of council. And like this bank building now, before you can do anything, you have to bring it down and build it again. You understand? These ones, you have to bring it down and do it again. Because if you start bashing, the effect, you see building collapsing. So you must bring it down and do the needful. I thank God our working governor, compassionate governor, His Excellency Right Honorable Sheriff Oborevwori, said he has mandated the Ministry of Works and SEMA to do the needful. And I believe the needful will be done. Thank you.
All right, we only have the council chairman here on ground to ensure that they're able to clear this particular tanker that has been obstructing vehicular movement from this particular place to ensure free flow of movement within the council municipal. All right, chairman, let's meet to your name and designation, sir.
Thank you very much. I think just like what the Honorable Commissioner said, it's a sad day for us as a local government and also assisted by extension. But most importantly, I must thank His Excellency the Governor for his swift intervention. Yesterday he called me, we spoke for some time, he showed his concern, and this morning His Excellency the Deputy Governor also was here to ascertain the situation on ground. And we are glad that the situation at the moment is under control. The next thing which we are trying to do here, alongside the Honorable Commissioner for Environment, is to see how we can remove this truck that is lying fallow so that motorists can actually have a free flow for their daily activities. I think by the grace of Almighty God, we pray that all necessary measures will be put in place to see how we can foster another further disaster.
Thank you, Chairman. Of course, you have heard from both the Chairman and the Commissioner for Environment in the state. Meanwhile, the victims and other people who have businesses within this area are still counting their losses. We told you about earlier on about a man who owns this particular shop that was, brought to rubble. And the man lamented that all the sales he had made during the Yuletide season, all the money he made, he kept them inside the shop. And the shop, very unfortunate, while he was enjoying himself with his family, being the first Sunday of the year, was called down to this place. Before he could get here, this place has already been engulfed by fire. There's another particular shop there that I see under lock and key. The lady who said she was selling, provision shops and other items, he couldn't even open the door because the fire was ravaging. And of course, it brought down everything. As you can see, the place is still under lock and key. There are other places as well. You can see that the building is being, partially being brought down gradually. And you can see some flames already coming out from this particular spot you are seeing from the screen there. So obviously the damage is huge. And we hope that the survivors and people who lost their loved ones, will be strong, because what they have lost here, to a large extent, it will be very difficult for them to get it back instantly. It's really indeed a sad moment for the people of Ika South local government area, Agbor precisely, and to those businessmen and women that owns their businesses around this corridor.
All right, Austin Azu, thank you so much for giving us the updates. Quite a sad situation there, seeing how many people have lost their properties, even those who were not present at the time of the incident. But it's now time to move to more stories. We did talk about the virus scare in China especially, and we introduced two of our guests who will now be joining us to shed more light on this. We're joined by two health experts, Professor Philip Njemanze and of course, Dr. Emmanuel Ibitoyi, who will be joining us subsequently. But Professor Njemanze, if you can hear me, you were trying to talk about the cause for this new strain that we're seeing and how it came about. Could you please go ahead?
Yes, actually, just to recap a few points before we got caught. The human metapneumovirus, we call it the HMPV, is not that new. This was written about way back in 2001. That was when it was first muted to be discovered. However, there were some earlier reports that goes way back to 1958. So we really know about this virus, and we know that it's a seasonal virus, so it causes common cold type symptoms, cough, fever, nasal congestion, shortness of breath, and sore throat. These are the usual common symptoms. It's no different from what you suffer from when you have a common cold. So what we know as ordinary people? What we should know is that you have to wash your hands for at least 30 minutes. You have to 30 seconds at least with soap. You have to avoid close contact with those who are sick. You have to cover your mouth when you sneeze or cough. And you have to try and stop touching your ears, nose with unwashed hands. And actually try to keep personal hygiene, not use utensils and cups for others. So the simple precautions which we take for personal hygiene is still all applicable. So that's what our people should know that they can do for themselves right now. At a more governmental level, I think the surveillance is the most important thing. So we will know when this virus lands in Nigeria. We do the necessary screening, develop the PCR centers for screening, both at ports of entry and those in the regional offices, so we can actually be able to keep track that we know that this virus is here. But there is really nothing to panic about in terms of the virus, because this is not going to, cause anything extraordinary than the common cold symptoms, which is very, very serious.
All right, Dr. Ndumanze, as a health expert, what lessons would you say that we as a country and as a continent have learned from the COVID-19 experience that can be duplicated or introduced to make a difference in the management of this new strain?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is not to hide this disease. The tragic mistake of the COVID-19 response was that we hide something that would have been otherwise better handled than what we did. The disease, they hide around the disease, and the measures, stringent measures which were totally unnecessary that we are taking, harmed the society more than the virus would have ever done. So I think we will not make that mistake this time around. We will look at the disease processes are here with us. Viruses and bacteria are here with us. Even within a human being, can you believe that in your gut, that is in your intestine, there are 1 trillion bacteria and viruses and microorganisms? 1 trillion. So we live with these things. And yes, there will be sometimes there will be mutations and new strains come up, and there could be some disbalance. But we should look at this from that strategic point of view, that we are cohabitators of this with these viruses and bacteria, and they will cause certain eruptions in disease. And some of them are imposed by us because we do not do the needful in terms of watching out and taking precautions we need to do. So I think the most important lesson to learn is that we should not hide things off the scale that causes enormous damage to economic welfare of the people. And this time around, I think we will tone it down and make sure that we take the necessary precautions rather than just the hype.
All right, very quickly, Dr. Ndumanze, I want to ask, because a lot of people might be conflicted as to whether or not this has the same symptoms with the COVID-19 pandemic, the COVID-19 virus, I beg your pardon, during the pandemic. What are some of the symptoms that people need to look out for, and what should people do at this time? We do not know whether or not it's already in the country. We do not know how long we can keep it at bay. Hopefully it doesn't spread. But what should people be looking out for?
Yeah, the common symptoms is just cough, fever, nasal congestion, shortness of breath, and sore throat. These are the common things, and these are the symptoms that occur even with common cold. So there will be nothing extraordinary than this. The only thing is that when a threatened pandemic happens, there's an exaggerated amount of people suffering these symptoms at the same time. So that's when we start raising alarm. Oh, well, wait a minute, we have a new strain or virulent strain that is infecting people. So these common symptoms of cough, fever, nasal congestion, shortness of breath, and sore throat will be present. They will surface, and you will see those people who are suffering this or the initial symptoms. But it's not to panic, because you can also have that when you have common cold, and you might not have anything to do with human metapneumovirus. So I think from the observational point of view, we need to watch out for this, and many people do have. I hope that in not too long from now, we might have some screening tests, very simple screening tests, even those that are latex-based we can use, and then we can have screening centers where you can actually do more advanced tests like PCR, where if we have evidence that this has landed on the shores of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Otherwise, I think there is nothing for people to worry about at this time.
All right. Professor Philip Nzemanze joining us all the way from Owerri, Imo State. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts. And we would like to ask that everyone be careful at this time to be sure what next to do as more information comes their way. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. Now, the chairman of the Presidential Committee of Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, has affirmed that the current value-added tax, VAT, structure can remain unchanged amid ongoing controversies. Now, Oyedele addressed some of the concerns surrounding tax reforms in a chat with newsmen. The tax reform bills aims to overhaul Nigeria's tax system, consolidate tax laws, streamline tax administration, and enhance revenue generation. Now, Oyedele emphasized that VAT adjustments are non-negotiable for Nigeria's development, but assured flexibility in implementation. He warned that withdrawing the bills from the National Assembly could hinder progress and disrupt ongoing consultations, stressing the urgent need to address inequities in the current system. Now, in the meantime, oil marketers have started lifting diesel and kerosene from the Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company, WRPC, which resumed operations on 30th of December 2024 under the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL. And marketers have confirmed that where the plant is operational, only one of its 3 units is functioning, producing diesel, kerosene, and gas. PMS is not yet being produced, but marketers anticipate loading petrol and cooking gas by February. Now, the Delta State chairman of IPMAN, Harry Okenin, noted that the refinery is not at full capacity, but has commenced skeletal activities. Industry sources reveal that additional upgrades are needed for full PMS production, with security operatives limiting access to the facility. Currently, about 50 trucks are being loaded daily, compared to over 100 when fully operational. And in the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has pledged the commitment of the current administration to complete the nation's Eastern Rail Line, which connects Port Harcourt in Rivers State to Maiduguri, Borno State. The president gave the assurance during an interactive session with Southeast leaders during his official visit to Enugu State location, which is in southeastern region. President Tinubu also pledged that the current administration will support the development of the Anambra Basin as a significant energy reserve estimated to hold up to 1 billion barrels of oil and about 30 billion cubic feet of gas.
The question of rail line is a work in progress. I inherited some of these critical problems, and I'm going to do it. Support for the gas infrastructure. Sure, gas is alternative fuel, and there's no wasting of time, but invest more in it. We'll do it together.
Now, in the meantime, the Commissioner of Police in Delta State, CP Olufemi Abinowonda, has ordered the immediate rearrest of 2 escaped suspects of Oborevwori Jumbaba, a.k.a. Roses, and Debbie. This follows their escape from police custody at the Ovian Alaja police station. The police commissioner has also summoned the divisional police officer, DPO CSP Bulus Musa, and his team for an investigation into the incident. The escape, which occurred on the 4th of January 2025, has sparked outrage in the Alaja community, which has petitioned the Inspector General of Police for swift action. Jabome and Debbie were initially apprehended on the 31st of December 2024 after a rise in criminal activity. Their escape has raised concerns about police negligence and the safety of the community. Now, suspected bandits have attacked Mairanda village in Katsina State, killing Surajo Rufai, the acting chairman of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN. Along with others, 2 others. The attack occurred on Saturday night at Rufai's residence in Kusada local government area. The bandits also kidnapped Rufai's 2 wives and daughter an undergraduate. One of the wives was later released. Police confirmed the incident, stating that a gun battle ensued when operatives tracked the assailants to Kola village, forcing them to flee. Efforts to apprehend the suspect are ongoing. Rufai's death follows the unresolved disappearance of MACBAN's National Vice President, Manir Atiku Lamido, who went missing on the 24th of June after traveling to Kaduna. Investigations into both cases are also continuing. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, the Katsina State Police Command has foiled a kidnap attempt involving 4 commercial vehicles on the Funtua-Gusau Highway, rescuing 18 passengers unhurt. The incident occurred on January 3rd when armed bandits ambushed the vehicles, firing sporadically in an attempt to abduct the passengers. Police operatives from the Faskari division swiftly responded, engaging the attackers in a gunfight and successfully repelling the assault. Now, on the same day, police thwarted a cattle rustling attempt in Kafur local government area, recovering all stolen animals after a shootout. The divisional police officer at Kafur sustained a gunshot wound during the operation, but is recovering in the hospital. Now, the Commissioner of Police, CP Aliyu Abubakar Musa, has commended the officer's bravery and urged the police to provide timely information to aid security orders. And now, gunmen from Nigeria have killed at least 5 Cameroonian soldiers and wounded several others in the village of Bakinjo on Cameroon's border with Nigeria. Now, it is the latest in a series of attempts to seize territory in that area. Aketiogo, a member of parliament for the district of Agbor in a southwestern category, or Cameroon rather, where the incident took place, said the attack happened early on Friday when hundreds of armed Fulani herdsmen crossed the border from Taraba State in Nigeria to attack a military post. He also said it was a retaliation after Cameroonian soldiers killed several herdsmen the day before. Agbor Linus, traditional ruler of Bakinjo, said the attackers also burnt down his home. Now, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has launched a series of operations across Nigeria, resulting in major arrests and drug seizures to kick off 2025. On the 1st of January, NDLEA operatives arrested Aishat Eledie, a 61-year-old drug kingpin, at her mansion in Lagos known as Iyaruka. She had been on the wanted list for leading a drug cartel in Mushin. Her arrest followed the interception of a truck carrying 1,540 kilograms of cannabis. In another operation, U.S.-trained filmmaker Emeka Mbadiwe was apprehended in Lagos after his associate was caught with 17.3 kilograms of cannabis. Additional raids across Kwara, Kano, and River State yielded seizure of drug-laced cupcakes, tramadol, and 316,800 bottles of codeine-based syrup. Now, still on drug trafficking, 3 Nigerian women have been freed after spending 10 months in jail in Saudi Arabia for drug trafficking. The women Hadiza Abba, Fatima Umate Mali, and Fatima Kanai Gambowire, arrested on the 5th of March 2024 at Prince Mohammed bin Abdulaziz International Airport in Medina, following the arrest of 2 Nigerians with 1.69 kilograms of cocaine. They were suspected of aiding narcotics trafficking. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed their release on Sunday, emphasizing the role of diplomatic efforts in securing their acquittal. The women have been handed over to the Nigerian consulate in Jeddah, where they were received by Ambassador Muazzam Yahya. They're now undergoing immigration processes for their return to Nigeria to unite with their families. Now, it's almost 20 months since the present administration in Abia State took up the mantle of leadership. For these times, there have been challenges in some critical sectors, environment being one of them. But it does appear the state government has its hands placed tightly on sanitation issues, with recent successes recorded in Aba and Umuahia. News Central's Chinwe Ugele reports.
Sanitation was a major concern in Abia State, portraying it as one of the dirtiest states in Nigeria. Governor Alex Otti, upon assumption of office, set up measures to tackle the menace of waste management in the two major cities of Aba and Umuahia, which had initial hiccups and disappointments by the people. However, in what looks like a major turnaround, the challenge of refuse management in the capital, Umuahia, and commercial city, Aba, seems resolved, hitherto known for heaps of refuse looking different these days. Esther Aja is the Special Assistant to Governor Alex Otti on climate change and sustainability, who attributes the success of the refuse management so far to the government's approach.
One of the things we've been doing is the monthly sanitation exercise, and there have been jingles. If you hear the radios, the TV, jingles in English and local languages across stations in it. We also saw the government doing the intervention of removing waste in Aba. And then we also saw the state government partnered with the federal government to evacuate certain waste deposits across the state. So
the citizens cannot help but marvel at the conditions of the cities recently.
I see this place is now neat. Unlike, do you know how this place used to look before? This place used to be a refuse dump. Like everywhere used to be a refuse dump. But right now you can see it's no longer like that. At least we have our separate dump bins and all these things. And they are cleaning it up regularly. So we feel very happy about that.
The things I'm seeing with all indication, Umuahia is a better place now, unlike before.
Government says it has outlined better plans for 2025, but will require the people to make sacrifices to support the effort.
Clearing waste, managing environment costs a lot of money. And one of the things we're trying to also do is to engage private service providers. People would have to pay for their waste. The days of throwing your waste and then expecting somebody else to pay for it should gradually be over. It's our collective responsibility.
The people are also concerned about sustainability of the interventions.
What I can tell him is to maintain the tempo, because I don't see him as someone who wants to retract. I see him as someone who wants to push forward.
Let him continue with what he's doing, because imagine Aba, many governors have tried, they couldn't do anything in Aba. But when you go to Aba now, everywhere is very clean.
While the roads and streets stay clean even during the festive period, government must discourage residents of Umuahia and Aba from dumping waste into gutters and canals, which end up on the streets once it rains. In Umuahia for News Central, I am Chinwe Ugele.
Now, since last October, the attention in South Africa has been on illegal miners who are still trapped at Stilfontein mine in Northwest Province. Now, this follows after police in South Africa have been intensifying the operation of closing illegal mines. However, at Stilfontein, it quickly turned into a crisis as some illegal miners remain trapped in some of these shafts, fearing arrests. More than 1,000 of them have since resurfaced. However, an unknown number still remains underground. And now, the African Transformation Movement has condemned a shocking racist incident that took place at Food Lovers Market in Fourways, Johannesburg, where a couple infamously referred to black patrons as baboons. In a video that circulated on social media, the disturbing occurrence has sparked outrage across South Africa. In a statement, the ATM leader, Vuyo Zungula, described the incident as representative of a broader, deep-rooted culture of racism that threatens the fabric of South African society. To discuss this, we will eventually be joined by a correspondent or a speaker in East London, Zama Shona. But in the meantime, still ahead, Solvin. Okay, I think we have the spokesperson, ATM Zama Shona, right now with us from East London. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. All right, we're discussing the racist incident that happened at Food Lovers Market in Fourways. First of all, let me start by asking, what's your take on that?
Well, for us as the African Transformation Movement, 30 years into democracy, it is truly unthinkable that we would have such a phenomenon occurring. You know, the time of calling people baboons, kafirs, and all kinds of derogatory names that are associated with the color of one's skin has come and gone. That regime was actually declared a crime against humanity. So for us to find ourselves in 2024, 2025, having people who still feel they can dehumanize black people like that, it is totally unacceptable. So as soon as it surfaced that there are still white people who are persistent on this issue of dehumanizing black people, knowing fully well that there are judgments against such a conduct. And those judgments were very clear in the use of the word baboon, that one, it shows hate speech, and two, it is actually an assumption that being white is better and being black is subhuman. You are equal to an animal with no ability to think. So for us as the African Transformation Movement, we're truly appalled that there are still people in this day and age who think that their lighter skins give them the right to actually impose themselves on black people.
So do you think that we as Africans are not doing enough to put these people in their place or educate them better? Because like you said, it's the 21st century and there are still people out there who think like that. And do you think that tourism plays a part in this in any way?
Thank you so much. Well, I think that we are doing fairly well. We are doing to the best of our ability, truly. Since 1994, South Africa will have on regular intervals holidays. And in those holidays, you can't speak about Freedom Day without being reminded of the issue of color. You can speak about certain projects and actually government programs from BEE, all these programs that seek to emancipate and advance previously disadvantaged communities. They should communicate to every individual. Also, the criminalization of racism. And there are many other instances where people have actually done this. So through laws, we have actually educated. Through practice, we've actually educated. The way our towns are being planned this, at this time of the, in this current era, all these things should serve as a reminder. I mean, we're even naming, giving different names to different towns. These may not be direct messages, but they should be communicating to anybody, communicating a clear message to anybody who dares to learn. So I do not think it is a question of there is not enough being done to teach white people that the issue of white supremacy is a notion, a figment of their imagination. It is not acceptable in South Africa. We are doing everything that we can. It's only that there are those who are adamant that they would actually keep what was done in the olden days and make it relevant in today's society, which we have to deal with it decisively.
Okay, Zama Shona, ATM spokesperson, thank you so much for joining us to discuss this very pivotal issue. And we're hoping that there's much more that can be done to address such issues, because this is a new dispensation and we shouldn't still be racist towards each other. Thank you once again for joining us. And now to stories outside the African continent. A shooting at a bar in southeastern Mexico have left 5 people dead and 7 wounded, authorities said on Sunday. Now, this is the latest in a series of similar attacks in the violence-plagued country. The Secretariat of Security and Civilian Protection, in a statement, said a manhunt was launched for the perpetrators of the shooting on Saturday night in the city of Villahermosa in Tabasco State. Now, it adds that analysis of video surveillance cameras is being carried out, and elements of the state and federal authorities have deployed coordinated patrols to locate and arrest those responsible. Now, according to local media, unidentified gunmen burst into Bar La Casita Azul and opened fire at customers, leaving bloody bodies strewn on the floor. Tabasco, home of oil production facilities, has seen an increase in violent crime in recent months. Now, marketers and retailers of petrol or premium motor spirit, PMS, are expected to commence lifting fuel from the Port Harcourt Refining Company this week, barring last-minute changes. Joseph Obele, Publicity Secretary of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, revealed that since the refinery began operations in November, it has exclusively supplied NNPC Limited-owned outlets, with marketers relying on imported products from the state-owned company. Obele noted concerns over pricing disparities as the refinery charges higher rates of fuel in Port Harcourt compared to Lagos. He appealed for parity in pricing, urging the refinery to sell at 899 naira per litre instead of 970 naira, ensuring fair access for Port Harcourt retailers. Now, staying with energy conversations, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the NNPCL, may maintain its crude for a loan agreement until 2029 as domestic refinery demand surges. Now, this stems from obligations tying crude oil production to $8.86 billion in financial commitments, with 272,500 barrels per day pledged as collateral. Now, the demand for crude oil by local refiners has grown, driven by operations at the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Dangote refineries, which require 123.48 million barrels from January to June 2025. Now, key projects such as Project Panther, which is $1.4 billion, Project Yield, $950 million, and Project Gazelle, which is, of course, $3 billion, reflect NNPCL's strategy for leveraging crude to secure funding, but the approach restricts crude availability for local refiners, underscoring significant financial strain. Moving into sports, the final draw for the 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN will take place on Wednesday, the 15th of January at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, in Nairobi, Kenya. Now, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, confirmed the event, which will feature 19 teams, including Nigeria Super Eagles B team. Others are Sudan, Guinea, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Morocco, Central African Republic, Congo, DR Congo, Angola, Zambia, Madagascar, and defending champions Senegal. Now, the tournament, entering its 8th edition, will run from February 1st to 28, 2025. We're still talking sports. Ayimba revived their CAF Confederation Cup campaign with a 4-1 victory over Mozambique's Black Bulls, thanks to Joseph Atule's brace on Sunday. Now, despite the win, the Nigerian club remains bottom of Group D, but sits just 1 point behind second-placed Al Masry. Ayimba faces Masry next Sunday in Uyo, seeking revenge for their earlier 2-0 loss in Egypt. A poor run of form led to the hiring of veteran coach Stanley Iguma. Ifeanyi Iyemikweli and Brown Ideye also scored, while Bulls Nigerian forward Ejaita Ifoni nated for the visitors. Now, group leaders Zamalek held Masry to a 0-0 draw. Elsewhere, Stellenbosch defeated Lundesul 2-0, and Renaissance Berkane secured quarterfinal qualification with a 1-0 win over Stade Malien. Now, Ousmane Dembele's stoppage-time goal secured Paris Saint-Germain a 1-0 victory over Monaco in the French Champions Trophy on Sunday in Doha. PSG dominated but struggled with poor finishing and strong goalkeeping from Monaco's Philippe Cohen. Despite missed chances, Dembele's late strike ensured a deserved win for Luis Enrique's side. This marks PSG's 11th triumph in the competition over the last 12 seasons, reaffirming their domestic dominance. Now, the Champions Trophy, France's version of a Super Cup, sets the tone for the rest of the season as PSG seeks to improve their Champions League form. Well, that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. Now, we told you the federal government to quarantine China passengers. We also mentioned Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms agree that VAT can still be retained as it is. And finally, we mentioned South African police discover illegal mine with miners trapped since October. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Agbor TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Osugu.